our side of Heilbronn University. It's wonderful that we have a full house here, and I think it's IBIS 1 until MIBIM 2 or 3, so the whole range of our students has come here to join the talk, and yeah, very welcome to you, Sabrina Dick. Yeah, we are very happy that you found the way back to Heilbronn and that you're sharing your wonderful experience with us as a manager now at SAP. Sabrina Dick has graduated from Heilbronn University in 2006. So that was, I think, one of the last diploma graduations, wasn't it? Right? Then we switched to bachelor and master degrees. And we are very happy now to see you as a wonderful, successful manager. I think currently you are the head of Human Resource Business Partners for EMEA region, so that's Europe, Middle East and Africa, at SAP in Walldorf, right back. You have also, you had international assignments in Prague, if I'm informed correctly. Working in shared service centers, some of you might have heard about these in organizational studies. You're laughing in my lectures. So, right, I think I do not, we are a bit delayed, sorry for that. We had technical problems, but this is part of the show, obviously. It doesn't go without it. Fortunately, we have our heads with us that are working well, I think, and I think I'm handing over to you. As you see here, you know, with spontaneous questions, it might get a bit difficult due to the size of the room and the loudness of your voices. Maybe, you know, we're gathering questions, you deliver your talk first, and you know, and then we are gathering questions to make it a bit more interactive. You know, if you have questions regarding your career or SAP as a company or whatever. All right? So, thank you very much for coming again, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, I'm Sabrina, as Professor Köster rightly said. I'm working at SAP. I will not say a lot more about myself right now, because the whole hour I'm going to talk about myself, which is a bit strange. When I prepared that talk, I was like, okay, never talked so much about me, so forgive me. But anyways, I hope you'll find my journey from when I started at Heilbronn University and studying IBIS to where I am right now at SAP. You find that a little bit interesting today. Before I start, I would like to attract you to this picture I have actually chosen, and this picture will guide us a little bit through the presentation. I don't know if anybody of you knows what bridge this is. Does anybody know? It's Bixby Bridge. Actually, you can find it when you drive along Highway 1 in California, down from San Francisco down to Big Sur. And I've chosen this bridge as a picture for the presentation because I wanted to tell you the story why this bridge actually has been built. So in the 1930s, before in the 18th, 19th century, all the people that lived in Big Sur, which is in the southern part of California, did not have the chance all the time to go up north during winter times because the coastal highway was cut up due to bad weather. And this is why in the 1930s they decided to build this bridge, the Bixby Bridge, which made it possible for them at all times during the year to go up north to San Francisco or even only to Carmel, which is 13 miles away, to buy food and to visit their friends maybe. So now again, why did I choose this picture? Because for me and my journey actually, if you compare it, I am Big Sur, so I live in Big Sur, so to say. I am one of those people when I started at university who were cut off the professional world a little bit because I had no clue about what it is and what it is all about. And then on the other side of the road, there was companies and there was SAP right now, right? And IBIS for me really built the bridge, and IBIS for me in this picture is Bixby Bridge because it helped me prepare for what came in the end. So just wanted to explain that shortly because this is a guiding principle of my presentation, and I'll use the picture a few more times. What I want to cover today is, I want to tell you a little bit about SAP. I wanted to do that in a very cool way by using two videos. We'll skip that. but you'll get the links and you can watch them. We have a fabulous marketing and communications team at SAP based in New York, and they have done a great job in producing some of the SAP strategy videos. So you'll get them for sure. Nevertheless, I'll let you know a little bit about the company, because I think if I said I'd work for Porsche, everybody would know what we do. With SAP, I'm not 100% sure, so I wanted to just make sure we're all on the same page. Then I called it the Sabrina story, so I'll tell you a little bit about myself and about how I see SAP as an employer. I mean, SAP is a company, as many other companies, but how do I perceive SAP as an employer? And then we'll build the bridge in the end again and talk about how IBIS has prepared me to be, well, to get to where I am right now. And I hope that during the stories that I'm going to tell you, you already know what will come in the end. Okay, so the famous SAP story. I do hope that you all have heard about this company that right now has almost 70,000 employees globally. So we are the world's largest provider of enterprise application software. We have started, or not we, 5 guys, former IBM employees actually have started to develop business application software in 1972 that was revolutionary to the business world, because what they had in mind is to enable real-time computing. All the times before, and I'm sure you probably, maybe some of the professors here, but I guess none of us, even me, can't remember that when companies worked with computers, or even without, data processing took a lot of time. They were processed in batches. So, for example, you entered, I don't know, a number into the system right now, but you had to wait until the night for it to get processed, so it's reflected in the system, and also basically you could work with the numbers then. That means that forecasts were not possible at every time in the day, and you just did not know all the time in what situation your company was. And this is actually what the 5 founders of SAP had in mind, and what they successfully also achieved. So with what they started in 1972, it's actually the same thing that we're still doing right now. We're producing enterprise application software, but of course we have developed a lot. What came into the market, I think it was last year or the year before, is SAP HANA, which is a database that is able to process big amounts of data, terabytes of data in parts of seconds, and it does not need a hard drive to do that. It works rightly in the cloud. So in order to process data, you can, the data that you need is there in just milliseconds, and that has again revolutionized the world of business, due to the fact that, whenever you have a forecast meeting, or you're sitting together with consultants in your company, and you need to know how the competition is doing, or how the sales forecast is, where we stand right now with our sales, especially in Q4, you have the data right there on your fingertips. So basically we still do, our aim is still to making the world run much faster and much more quicker. At the same time, we are the fastest growing company in the cloud. We do that very often by acquiring companies. In the cloud means that companies do not have to have huge data centers at their premises anymore, but they can have the data stored on, for example, in the SAP servers, and they still have access to it very quickly due to the databases and the programs that we use. At the same time, we're the market leader for mobile business applications. That means that with your iPad, iPhone, you have great opportunity to have all the data that you need right there at any time of the day. We're the fastest growing database vendor at the moment, also due to SAP HANA, because this was revolutionary. And right now we've also become the market leader in products for business analysis. As I said, whenever you need data and you want to see it in an easy report. CEOs cannot go into the system and run long reports and then need to search for the data that they really need, but they want it right there on their iPad whenever they just need an information. This is what we provide, and this is also what's successful. So getting data whenever you want, with whatever device you want, in a simple user interface, basically. This is actually also our operating principle. It's just run simple. That's pretty easy. Not so easy to be achieved, especially if we in the company are heavily and strongly working on that. So at SAP, we help accelerate business innovation through radical simplification. Thereby, our vision is to help the world run better and improve people's lives. Can you imagine that this sounds a bit strange to you? Why would business applications and business technology improve your lives? But this is our vision, and I'll tell you later on a little bit more about what that means. The mission is help our customers to run at their best, and we want to do that by helping them master complexity to run simple and become successful. So at this stage, I actually wanted to show you the cool videos, but what the videos would have shown you is actually what our technology could do and what it means to really help the world run better and improve people's lives. An example would be that whenever you, we help doctors with our systems with research on, for example, cancer. Research and this enables them to make to increase the speed of the health process in the end. But I'm sure that the videos are going to be much better with that. So I'll just leave that up to you, and you can watch it afterwards. What I've brought though to you, and based also on the videos, are a few examples of our advertisement campaigns right now that again underline how our reach has changed from only business applications to, in the end, everybody and you and me. So a very prominent example, if we look at this giving fans more to be fans of, you've maybe heard that during the Soccer World Championship, SAP has partnered with the German Soccer Association, and we have built applications for them to analyze matches, single players, like Jogi Löw, for example. He could check on his mobile device even during a game how much one of the players has run, how many fouls they have made, what was the correct distance or the correct stretch they have made during a game. And this goes even farther. So we now have sold it also to Bayern Munich, of course. They would have to be the next. But the San Francisco 49ers, for example, American football club that you probably all know, they have gone as far as to also handing this app over to the people that come to the matches, and they can use it with their smartphones and can check statistics during the game, and they can even order hot dogs and beers to their seats, which has increased. Funnily, which has increased the sales of beverages and food, because people don't have to leave their seats during the game. It will be delivered to them. They can pay online. So that means that they have a very good game experience, match experience in the end. So this is basically what it means. I mean, this is maybe a not so important fact to improve people's lives, but it definitely improves the match experience. On the upper right-hand side, the run campaign we have, the run theme is very prominent within SAP. We had lots of slogans in the past talking about running. Businesses run better with SAP. A company runs SAP, so always the run theme. And with this run campaign there, we actually launched the whole cloud computing and making people aware that by using SAP in the cloud and by implementing SAP HANA, they could do business anywhere from their mobile devices without having to sit at the desk and actually be at work, which again, of course, makes it possible to be available and connected all the time, which is a big advantage for companies. And then the one in the middle I have chosen because I'm almost sure that you are familiar with it. It's the so-called airport campaign. We've launched it a few years ago already. And since SAP has always had a little bit of an issue with their image in the sense of we've been the market leader in what we do, but people who were not so much in the corporate world and whose companies did not use SAP or work on SAP, they were just not aware of us. And so what we wanted to do with this is that we had tons of posters in different airports, always with very famous brands. There's one with Body Shop, and then we have one with Porsche, Lufthansa, all of the famous brands that we know that are customers of ours. And we say they run SAP. So at least the aim with that was that the people who saw the advert and knew, or here, for example, Starwood Hotels, they had a good experience with Starwood Hotels, they were happy with the customer service. We would hope that they would then connect it also with us, with SAP. And really, if there is a question right now, if something is completely unclear and it can't wait until later, just let me know, so that's no issue. Okay, so I have some funny pictures here, Mr. Fuhrmann. I hope you don't mind.
Very funny.
Yeah, I would like to now really talk about myself, and you can see that this is a picture from my graduation ceremony, from our graduation ceremony in 2006. It marks the end of my time here at Heilbronn University. I started to study in Heilbronn in 2001. I come originally, I'm from a small village here in the area, not far away. When I started to study, I hadn't seen much of the world. Actually, didn't travel a lot, but I always was interested in other cultures and wanted to know more about the international world and the business world. So it was always clear for me I wanted to study international business. Then I checked some programs, and then I saw IBIS that had Arabic in it. So I was like, wow, that's certainly unique. And at the time when I graduated from school, almost everybody wanted to study international business, I remember. So I thought when I go to Heilbronn and study Arabic, it's probably also going to be my USP somehow, which turned out to be right. So I still get amazed looks when I tell people that I've learned Arabic and I still speak a little bit. So that's what I did. And I was more just doing that because of thinking it might be a good move, but not really knowing what was lying ahead of me. And then we still did the diploma program. So what we did is we had 2 practical semesters during the studies. The first one I actually did at a very typical German company. It was Heidelberger Druckmaschinen, again not far away in Wiesloch and Heidelberg here. Very conservative, typical German company, actually very structured. It was a perfect thing for me, never having seen anything about corporate world and not really knowing what this all is. I loved it. I felt at ease. It was a wonderful experience for me. And then the second internship, we had to somehow go abroad. And I was thinking about, where should you go? I always wanted to go to the States, but then, I really loved Arabic from the first moment, and I was very much interested in the culture. So during one of these colloquials that we had, a colleague, a lady, I can't remember her name, she also was there in Dubai. She was talking about Daimler in Dubai and that she did her internship there. And I thought, well, okay, that might be something really cool because I like cars, you know, I'm a fan of fast cars, and I thought Dubai sounded kind of cool. So I applied and I actually went there, and that was for me, I guess, the biggest step and the best step. That opened up, my interest for the international business world, I would say. So I went there. I was working in HR at Daimler. We were an office of 100 people, I think. Multicultural, people from all over the world. Actually, we lived together, and we had lots of fun. But of course, there were also always it was interesting to get all these cultures together and to work through that, right? So it's probably something you laugh about, because I think in these past few years this has changed and many people go abroad already during school times, but for me this was something really new. And I came back and I knew that I definitely want to work in an international environment. So when it came to writing my thesis, I actually got an offer from SAP. Professor, that's no longer here, Professor Ziegler or Clark at the time, I don't know if anybody still knows her. She had a free slot at SAP, a diploma thesis about trends in HR shared services, which is also something I wasn't familiar with. And so I accepted that job, and this is where I actually ended up at SAP already with my diploma project. But I didn't like it in the beginning, not at all. I came there, first of all my contract took ages until it came, weeks and weeks, and then my supervisor always said, yeah, you know, you're gonna do that, you know your topic, I'll give you some books. And then I want you to meet with tons of people. And I was like, oh my God, I don't have the time to meet with all these people, I need to write my thesis. So I met with these people, they were all very helpful, and then by the time I realized that it's actually, that it seems to be something specific in the company, that only if you ask people and if you get connected with them, you'll get the help. And otherwise it was pretty cool. We had lunches that didn't cost anything, there were coffee corners, so it was really nice for me. You know, so I did my project, and in the end, when I was ready, I was actually surprised nobody would offer me a job there, and I was a bit disappointed because I thought my thesis was actually pretty good. But then, you know, my supervisor Thomas always told me, he said, you have to go out and you have to ask people, and I didn't really get that at the time. So I graduated still successfully here from Heilbronn University, but in the end I didn't have a job with SAP. But then what happened, actually, interestingly, is that one day I met somebody on the street. I knew she worked for SAP, and she had heard of my thesis, and she said, hey, don't you have a job? I heard you wrote that thesis, and it was about shared services. Are you not interested to come to Prague and visit the shared service center there, and just to have a look, and then, you know, we'll see if we have any opportunities. And so I went to Prague and visited the finance shared service center there, had a couple of interviews, and then in the end ended up as being the assistant of the head of this shared service center. And then only it made me realize what my diploma supervisor meant when he said you gotta meet people. Because what's important at SAP is that you have a network, that you know people who might have a headcount. And headcount is a big word, and it's treated like gold at SAP. This means you have the budget to employ somebody. And this is actually how it happens. Usually you come in because you know people. You can of course also apply for sure, but if you're already in, you should make sure from the first day on that you look out for opportunities to get a permanent job. Yeah, but then, you know, I went to Prague, I think in November 2006. I moved from Germany. I moved there, got a local contract, and worked in the Shared Service Center for Finance. Shared Service Center, I don't know if it rings a bell, but what we did there is we centralized standard finance processes, administrative processes from all over Europe, and provided them out of the service center in Prague. Reason why, of course, if you have standard processes in each and every location that are being done almost the same each and everywhere, you could always more or less easily bundle them, and at the time many of these centers were being created in the Eastern European countries. I think there was some also in Slovakia and farther down, because we're cheap labor there. So what I found was a company of around 400 people with employees from more than 30 countries, speaking multiple languages, but all working together in this environment, and being part of a community that lived in one of the coolest cities in Europe. And yet again, I thought, what a cool company SAP is, and what they enable us, because we of course had lots to do. So my responsibilities were, I worked on different projects together with the CFOs in the countries of Europe at the time, and it was not always easy, because you can imagine, if you take our processes from a country and centralize them, what happens is that you take power away from the CFOs. So not all of them were very happy about that, of course, and then of course they weren't happy about the quality the services were provided out of the Shared Service Center. So it was lots of relationship management, and you really needed to know how to talk to these people and how to win them over. Every person was different. If you talk to the CFO in Italy, you certainly had somebody different in front of you than if you talk to the CFO of Germany or France. So cultural differences with managers that really knew what they wanted and were afraid, of course, of losing their jobs. It was hard 2 years, definitely, but still it was a great time, because we also had lots of freedom, and we organized parties around Prague, and we made friends quickly. We were in this together. These 400 people were basically one team. At the time, the structure of, or the company structure for me, if I looked at SAP, was also very easy to grasp, because I was reporting to the head of the Shared Services Center there. We then had the CFO of SAP AG at the time, and then there was the group CFO. So there was not a lot of confusion. It was pretty easy. I was happy in my own little world, and really had a lot of fun in these 2 years. I knew though that this job was going to be for 2 years, so I didn't do the same mistake again. After 1 or 1.5 years, I started to look for different jobs. And what always fascinated me is that all those business consultants from inside SAP, they came to the center and always visited it, and we had to give presentations on what we do. And so I talked to one of these consulting managers and actually got a job as a business consultant at SAP. So in 2008, I moved back to Germany and became part of a team of business consultants. We were actually responsible for the region, again, EMEA, so it's Europe, Middle East and Africa. We should go out, of course, to customers and help them shape their strategy, mostly with the focus again on shared services. HR, finance and IT was the focus at the time. Unfortunately, I moved in 2008, so I first started with the 3-month trainee program, which is very good. Did some, of course, trainings, presentation trainings. We simulated customer situations, and I also did a 6-week project with a manager who worked in consulting sales at the time, and I helped him to work on his strategy for 2009. Then in 2009, when I finally wanted to go out to the customer, we had this economical crisis, and hardly anybody actually was demanding consultants from SAP, especially not these junior consultants. So what happened is that my former boss from Prague, who in the meantime got promoted to the global head of shared services, asked my consulting boss if I could be her program manager to define and implement actually the global finance shared services organization at SAP. So good and bad, I basically went back to my more or less old job, but it was one of the major projects that I did and my first big project that I did. So we defined the organization and we implemented it on a global level, which again led me to more challenges when it comes to intercultural communication and collaboration. While I was used to working with people from all over Europe, I had never worked with colleagues from APJ before, didn't have much of an experience of working with people from North or Latin America. And so this was another big challenge for me, which I then pretty quickly got to manage in a way that I just tried to establish personal relationships with these people, trying to set myself in their position and really looking at, okay, what does this project mean for them? What are their feelings maybe? How does it make them feel? Do they lose anything or do they win? And with that, I tried to establish these personal relationships, which in the end actually made me, successful. I mean, I established the team around me. People were willing to work with me and also delivered on everything that we needed. They felt respected, and I think for me, if I look back on my journey, this is one of the key success factors for myself, I would say, is that I always try to establish a personal relationship with people and make them, make not friends, but make them a part of not only of my job. So this is what I did for another year. No, sorry, it was more. It was a year and a half, and then. One day I got a lunch request from this guy who I did this 6-week project in the consulting sales department, where I helped him to define his strategy for 2009, and then he sent me a lunch request. And you should know that lunch requests are something very, very important at SAP. During lunches, actually, the real decisions are being taken. You go to lunch to network, to meet people, to stay in touch with people, and to seal deals. So he invited me for lunch. I actually didn't know why, but then he offered me a job as a global program manager because he recently got also promoted to heading the go-to-market team for consulting sales, and he needed somebody to coordinate all of the projects and programs that were running within the area. Go-to-market, what does that mean? That you probably know that, but that means actually how are we going to sell, what are we going to sell, and what do the sales reps get in turn. So of course our sales reps have a big portion of variable pay each and every year, and we defined on a yearly basis how they're going to be remunerated for selling different products. So I started that in the beginning of 2010, and you can see here parts of my team back then. So we were a team of, I think, 10 or 12 very, very senior project managers, except for me. I was the most junior person. And again, we had a lot to do. At times we had 30 projects running at the same time. We had to roll them out globally. We worked with the sales leaders in the different regions, again having to deal with the cultural differences and of course also the market differences. At SAP, clearly I mean, Germany and North America, I would say, are the most mature markets if you look at the entire company. But then there are many, many differences even within the regions. If you look at Europe, we have Germany, the UK, France as very, very mature markets. But then we also have, so we always look at in Europe as EMEA, so Europe, Middle East and Africa. So we have Africa and MENA that are just starting. MENA is Middle East and North Africa, so the Arab world, so to say. So lots of differences in the markets, lots of differences in the people. And I always say that's the biggest challenge. We will get the work done, no matter what it is, but you have to win the people over. And this again was the biggest challenge here in this team. You've had very senior sales managers that of course know their markets best because they have been in the markets for long. They probably started as a sales rep and worked their way up to be a manager. And now those global guys come and they want to tell us what we should do next year, and we can tell them right away, anyways, it's not going to work. We won't do anything of what you ask from us, right? So that again was the biggest challenge we faced. And again, I think what I did, project management is something, it's common sense, I would say. Of course, you learn the techniques, and I did trainings on that for sure. All of the content that you learn somewhere, everything's very, very important, but only what counts, and you only get things done really if you win the people over to working with you. Otherwise, you can do whatever you want. You can be the expert in any topic. I don't think that you would be very much successful. So again, here we had lots of challenges. We worked from early in the mornings till late at night at time, because if you have a global job, you have calls with APJ in the morning and California in the evening. But as you can see, so I always say we worked hard, but we played hard. So we also had pretty cool team meetings in global roles. You of course have to go to every region to have a team meeting. And the picture before actually was when we had a team workshop in Singapore, and this here is right on top of the, I always call them the Rocky Steps in Philadelphia. So this is why we got Rocky here in the middle. He's a guy from Austria, actually. It's very funny. So we did every half year, we had team meetings somewhere in the world. We went to Philadelphia, Miami. We also had one in Palo Alto. That's in California, sorry. And then, of course, Germany. So despite all the hard work and the many challenges we faced, we never missed the opportunity to get together, also with the sales leaders from the respective locations, and had some fun events and team events, which I think were crucial to the success of our team. And again, something that is very very common at SAP, if it's not Q4, because this is mostly when we're not allowed to travel anymore. But it is something that SAP fosters a lot. It's a collaboration, international collaboration, diversity, having people from different countries and different cultures working together. So this is what I enjoyed a lot. However, a big challenge and what became clear to me in this role is that SAP and the structure of SAP is not just as easy as I've always thought, because there was always my manager and another manager, and this was pretty much all who I talked with. But here in this role, we really had to fight also, I would say, the politics. So we, as a consulting department globally for SAP, we were part, or are still, we are a part of the global sales organization that focuses on license sales. And clearly license sales and licenses is our core business. So of course these guys are much bigger and also, saw themselves as much more important than we were in consulting. And as long as we had this global lead of the consulting organization that was supportive of our work and that also had a very good relationship into the board, our team was important. We had the important strategic projects, and they wanted to develop us further, and they really depended on us with the different projects. But then, and that happens at SAP, pretty often. The head of consulting left the company, another one came up, and then the whole situation changed because suddenly nobody really was interested so much anymore in our team and what we did because they had other people to do that, and the scope of our team changed. So after 3 years I thought, well, I'm not sure if this is still the way I want to go, and since the scope changed, I'm not sure what I should do next. And I was approached at mid of last year actually by a colleague who told me that there is an opening in HR. Again, I mean, I've worked in finance, I've worked in consulting, and then HR. So I told her, I said, listen, I always wanted to work in HR. I did my thesis in HR, but never worked in HR. I'm just not sure. And then she said they're looking for a people manager in heading a project management office for, again, the EMEA region. And and they were recruiting right now. So in the end, I agreed to do an interview with the boss. And I was very open with her. I said, listen, I have no clue about the HR organization. I know what project management is, and I've done project management for almost my entire career, but I have no clue about HR, I have no clue about people management. And what she said, and I think this was the best advice that somebody has given me so far, is she said, why would you take a job that you know everything already before you even started? She said, never take on a job that you don't know anything of, but always make sure that the job also holds a challenge for you. So you have one part that you already know, and then there's another one that you would develop into once you take it on. And I think that's exactly right, because it's one thing to be very good at a certain topic, a certain course, whatever, but if you do it for some time, it's going to get boring because you know it already, it's all the time the same. So when you develop, you should always look out for some challenge and something completely new that you could develop into. I would never, however, do something that you don't know anything about, because that could be very, very stressful. So I actually applied, but I wasn't really sure because some people had told me that lots of people from HR and very experienced HR project managers had applied as well. I went on vacation and then I got an email that they chose me for the job, and I was very much surprised. So I asked why I was the one in the end, and they actually said that it is because I don't have HR experience. So they wanted somebody from the business to come into HR and potentially tell them that the processes they're creating or they want to set up will not work in the business or are perceived in a certain way because they have no clue what the business or the sales organization is thinking about the HR services, let's say the salary planning or the goal management, the performance management, everything that we do during the year. And I was laughing because honestly the perception of HR, especially in the sales and services organizations, is not always the best, because the salary planning or the performance management lies in the middle of Q4, which is the busiest quarter, and the sales managers want their people in the field. They don't want them to do salary planning or performance management, right? So I took over this job without having a clue about all this. I just knew that performance management was there, but I didn't know how it was really, how it was done properly. And I took over a team of, I think 9 people at the time. So we were 3 Germans. I had one colleague in Hungary, 1 Croatian colleague, 1 Indian, 1 Indonesian, and 2 British colleagues, who were a mix of different cultures, different maturity levels also. But I have to say that this was the best decision that I really have ever taken. And it was the best few months that I've had in my career, because the way how I work with my with my direct team is that I don't see myself as the boss and they do what I want, but we work together. We develop topics together, we respect each other's opinions, and we work on issues together. And having people from different cultures and different backgrounds in this team made us produce results that were just extraordinary. I'm sure that if we were only Germans or only Americans, we'd still produce good results, but the cultural diversity is what made it really happen. And in addition to that, we were working, or we're still working with the different HR directors in the EMEA region, in the different countries. And again, here we have France, we have the UK, very, very, very mature market units, but we also have MENA and Africa, who have growth plans in place. That means they have to grow quickly, they have to increase revenues very, very quickly, but they also have to ramp up within the HR department in order to be sure that they can process the amount of employees there. And of course we also have issues with these colleagues. They're sometimes not delivering, or sometimes we think they just don't understand what we want from them. It's really hard to working with them. But again, here after, how long is it, 16 months now, I have established pretty good relationships with these people. And again, what I did and what I used is just to establish regular one-on-ones with them, and I don't just talk about what we need from them or what they might need from us, but I would always start with a little bit of a, personal talk, small talk, and especially with the Arab colleagues, what helped me a lot is that I knew Arab actually. I mean, I'm certainly far away from fluent, but I start every call with an Arabic greeting. I ask them, what. How their holidays were. I respect the different holidays. We try to not schedule any meetings on Fridays, and it's just so interesting that once people realize that you are interested in them, in their culture and in their country, that they open up and they are much more willing to collaborate with you, because they feel that you respect them and that you don't just want data from them, but that you also want to learn from them, and that they have things and that they know things that you, the guys from the headquarters, also don't know. So I truly believe this was again a very important piece of my interaction and collaboration with them. Just trying to make sure that I respect that they just have different habits and different holidays and so on. We also have colleagues in Israel with holidays I am not familiar at all. But as soon as they realize that I'm interested in their lives and their religion and their habits, they started to share these holidays with me and didn't just decline meetings and said, well, we have a holiday or not a comment at all, but they sent me emails in advance saying, be careful, next week we have the Jewish New Year and we won't be there, so please make sure that you know about that up front. So it has helped us a lot and has made our team a very, very trusted partner of all the HR directors within the different countries, which I think brought me or made me successful, because I had learned during my studies how important and how great it is actually to work in intercultural teams, but at the same time you also have to respect them and you have to acknowledge them. So that's how far I have come at SAP, and I hope that while I spoke, it was a long speech, you also maybe realize why I might also like and love to work for SAP, why I am still at SAP. I think SAP as an employer for me, as a person, is just a perfect match, because we have all the opportunities that we want if we take the chances. So you can see that I started out in finance, worked in consulting, now I'm in HR. Basically the whole world is open for you in our companies. In our company, you are not stuck in one pillar if when you start after university, and then your career is basically determined within let's say, controlling, but you really have the chance to develop also horizontally. That means you can explore the most different areas, regardless if you have a background in them or not. Again, of course, I would never apply for a developer's position, that's for sure. But marketing, even sales, as long as you have a passion for it and you have at least some traits that qualify you for the job, you have everything to apply, actually. And SAP supports that. You are also free to work from almost wherever you want. So you could, like in my role in EMEA, I'm working out of Germany, but I could at the same time say, okay, I would rather like to relocate to another country, and SAP would usually also support this. So you can also look for jobs in different countries and develop yourself into different areas there. The big advantage of a company like SAP, of a big company, is that you also have access to many new working techniques. Everything, all the trends that basically come up are picked up somewhere in the company and then tested and probably also implemented. We have one trend, and obviously I know that Professor Köster has this as a topic in one of her classes, is the design thinking method. I have to be honest, I haven't been part of these sessions, but it is a huge trend at SAP right now. What SAP does, it supports that people who are interested in the topic, they get the training for it. SAP pays for the certification, but in turn, these employees then also utilize their knowledge within the company and even with customers. So we have a network of design thinking coaches in the company. You can address them, call them, and you can book them even, so to say, for design thinking sessions. We have rooms to do design thinking. They've reshuffled meeting rooms and remodeled them. We also have a coaching community. Whoever wants to do a coaching development or training, SAP would support that, and in turn you would be part of this internal coaching circle, and every SAP employee can look into this and can look for a suitable coach for them and utilize them for some kinds of business challenges and career coaching free of charge. So this is definitely something that I love about SAP, is the freedom that we have. Yes, we have to work hard. There's competition. We have to stay ahead of. We have to meet deadlines. We have lots of projects to deal with, but we have all the chances and all the freedoms that we could hope for, and we have access to so many techniques and to so many possibilities within the company. It's all up to you, though. That's what I wrote. You have to be active. So you're the master of your career. You should not wait for anybody to do that for you. It's you who has to do that. So you have to take control of yourself. But if you're fine with that, you can be really successful at SAP. Of course, what we should not neglect the different benefits. We have, well, I would say competitive salaries and stock programs. Again, the free lunches was not a joke, so we indeed do not pay for lunches. Almost everybody can get a company car. We get flexible working hours, free gyms, and so on. Definitely something that you should not underestimate. Talked about that the other day. In some companies you pay, I think, €6 for a lunch each and every day. So you do save, and I mean, probably we would not need free lunches, but it's just a feeling of freedom, and it shows you that SAP demands a lot from you, but gives you a lot back. So I think it's a real win-win, and this is why I really like to work for the company. Challenges we have, I guess every company has them. So we have unclear responsibilities sometimes. We have complex organizational structures. That's due to the fact, I guess, that we've grown very quickly. We're selling lots and lots of products, like the sales and consulting organization is so many different matrix organizations that nobody really knows who's reporting to whom and who can actually take a decision. And then I think what you want to be also happy about, that the world is constantly changing. So whenever we acquire a company, we might take over their technology for a certain process. So the world will completely change, we'll have new leadership, and we have new managers in. So this is something that's constantly there and that's constantly changing. But I guess this is not so different from any other big company, so I guess this is something we just have to live with, and we also can live with. Again, what I've posted here is the best career advice I got. I already said that. So be bold in your career moves in the end. And now finally, and I think maybe that's what many of you were also waiting for, is to say, okay, so now why does IBIS, or has IBIS helped you to get there? So for me, I think the whole program actually prepared all of us in the course very well for the corporate world. First of all, the business classes and the professors we have, most of them, or even all of them, have worked in the corporate world, have worked in multinational companies. They know how it is to be out there. And that means that the examples that they bring in, the case studies that we do, reflect or simulate situations that we could find ourselves in later on. Then of course, and I don't know if that's still part of the course right now, but we had those 2 internships that gave us an access to the corporate world. That prepares you very well, and it gives you the background knowledge that you need. You might not remember all of this when you start at a job, or probably a company might do things differently than when you learned them here at university. But what I think the study course does is it prepares your mindset, and it changes your mindset in order to be able to cope with the many challenges. And I remember back then when we studied, the business courses for us were, I wouldn't want to say more important, but we had the feeling that they were also more time intensive, and the language courses and the culture courses, many people said, yeah, it's nice, and it's a nice break also from the business courses. But after having worked a few years in an international environment, I can really only say to you that it's equally important, because if it wasn't, I mean, first of all, English is something that you need to know and you need to be fluent in, but also the other languages. I might not use Arabic every day, and the French and the Spanish, but it's a huge door opener for you. It has opened the world for me, opened the door to MENA and Africa. And the same with French. I sometimes write emails in French to my French colleagues. They're just so happy, and it's just, it creates a completely different atmosphere. Also, you never know where it might take you. It could be that, like we have the example right now, we have a colleague sitting in the US, and she was offered the job of the HR director in Africa. So she needs to move within 4 weeks from the US to South Africa, and you just need to be prepared. You find yourself in a completely different cultural environment, and you need to cope somehow. And while you might not have studied African culture in specific, having gotten an insight into different cultures during your studies, again, changes your mindset and opens it up and makes you adjust to different cultures much better than if you hadn't been in contact with that before. So I do believe that it's a USP, and that this course has the perfect combination of both business courses and language and culture courses that enable you to be successful in corporate environments. Yeah, I think that was it. That was what I wanted to say. I would like to thank you for your attention. I'm sorry I talked a lot now. I just hope that you still have some questions. I saw many people leaving, so I hope it wasn't too boring. But which questions do you have? What can I tell you more? Thank you.
And personal questions for your career
career planning, it can be something, on diversity, it can be something on whatever, on politics, on power games in big multinational organizations, whatever you think, you have Sabrina Dick here who knows the company inside out, so it's a good opportunity also, to... Oh, love it.
Have you ever had problems or issues with colleagues who had prejudices because you were a woman?
Maybe so
yes.
you can repeat the question, then everybody hears it.
Of course. So if I ever had issues with colleagues who had prejudice against me because I was a woman, yes, I actually, well, not so much in the HR or in the finance environment, but certainly in consulting. If you deal with sales managers who often are male, and then you come as a young woman, and you tell them we've just defined a strategy and we would like you to implement that, they would look at you first and would maybe smile and would say, I don't know what she wants. She can't know what I really need to do and what my business is. That happens, but it's not very common within our company, luckily, because we really promote diversity. We also, even the regional sales presidents, they want to make sure that they also have female managers in their team, and they want equal treatment of all of the employees, irrespective of gender, religion, sexual orientation. So this is very big, but absolutely, I mean, they might not say it, but it does exist. Yeah. Yeah.
What was the greatest challenge for you as you have started to work at SAP?
Okay, what was my biggest challenge at SAP? I think well, there were many challenges, and every job has many challenges. But I do think that the collaboration with the different, sales teams in the different countries was a huge challenge, because I had to fight for them to respect me, and to respect me as somebody who, despite being very young still, and maybe being a woman, also having an opinion and maybe knowing what I'm talking about. So I guess this is a challenge that is repeated every day, and that you have to overcome, even more so as a woman, by really making sure that you show them what lies within you. Another big challenge, but I think that this is common, and I know that you also especially raised the point, is of course politics and political. Well, I wouldn't call it intrigues, but they exist. So you always have different parties with maybe even hidden agendas, or at least you know that they are in favor of this one manager, whereas the others are more in favor of that topic, for example. And it's very important to know this in advance and to work in a way that you satisfy kind of everybody, to not getting involved into this. I've realized that this can easily cost people's jobs also, if you're not, if you're constantly against one party or another, right? So this is a challenge, a constant challenge again, that you have to be aware of, and that you have to make sure you don't get into the one or the other, but try to stay on top and maneuvering around. Yeah.
How would you say consulting at SAP differs from consulting at traditional firms like McKinsey or Boston Consulting?
Yeah. So the question is how SAP Consulting differs from McKinsey or the typical consulting firms. I think it's softer. So SAP Consulting is it's a part of a software company, so we're not a clear consulting company. This is not our core business. we're clearly the product experts, and that's why I think this is our USP. That's why also definitely customers buy us, and that's why they want us, and they choose us in favor of versus others, because we have the product and the expert knowledge. But definitely our consultants are not on the road 5 days a week, mostly 4. They often work in-house when they prepare the presentations, or even when they work on the product specifications. So I would say that you get a feeling within SAP Consulting as to what consulting and business consulting is about. But if you want to experience real consulting, and I think we have to cut this out from the video later on, my employer doesn't want to hear that, but if you're really interested in a consulting career, I would advise you to go to one of the traditional consulting firms and not to SAP, because it's not our core business, and I would say if you're interested in that, go somewhere else. Yeah.
You have told that you have worked a lot abroad. Does it somehow influence the private life? I mean, family and...
Which family?
Oh yes, which family? Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the question was if working abroad influences the private life. Yeah, it absolutely does. Not only working abroad, even working in Germany. I mean, the jobs demand a lot. We often work long hours, but you like to do that because you identify yourself with the topic. You really want to make a difference in the company. But that influences your life in a way that you, during the week, you actually always work, and then over the weekend you sometimes are so tired that you don't want to go out. I'm exaggerating, but work takes up a lot of your life, of your private life, and especially if you want to go abroad and you go abroad more than once, you have to make sure that you either are as flexible to do that, or you have to definitely have a partner who supports that. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And I guess lots of, unfortunately, lots of partnerships have also suffered from that, and were not successful because of that, because one wanted to move and the other one didn't, or then moved with them and didn't find what they were looking for there. So it does influence it, yes. And I guess it's a choice, because it gives you a lot to see different cultures, to do different jobs, and I think everybody just has to know what their priorities are and decide upon that, but you have to know that, yes, it does influence it, yeah.
There was a question from...
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. All right.
No, no, not at all. I have very good friends, and all of them have kids, so I kind of have my family there, and but no, haven't managed to. How it was for me to work in the Arabic region. Actually, I have made very, very positive experiences because of the fact that when I worked in Dubai, my Arabic was much better than it is right now. So whenever people realized that I at least had an interest in and knew about the Arabic culture and also could speak a bit, they treated me with a lot of respect, and they were amazed that a German woman was interested in learning Arabic, or was even coming to work there and actually wanting to know about their culture and the different holidays and the different working habits and so on. So I have honestly made very, very positive experiences. I think it was due to the fact that I had some background in this, and I knew the culture, or at least I knew parts of it, and I was familiar with the language. Yeah.
You said you took on a new position every 2 years about now. That's your story each time a new department, but is it also typical for SAP that the employees have insight in different departments to gain knowledge?
Yeah, so my career is, I've changed jobs and always departments at the same time. So that's, I wouldn't say it's typical. You have everything at SAP. You have the typical controller who starts as an associate controller, goes up to the expert controller, stays in that area, maybe changes from controlling for sales to controlling in finance during the time, but you have that. You have people that have, or in HR also, being HR business partners, all their work lifelong. You have that. But you see lots of people who at least at some point in their career, they do something completely different. And I think at SAP, it is rather than changing companies, people rather first change the board area they work in to widen their horizon and to learn something new after a period of years, rather than staying in the same job and doing the same thing for years and years. So I do think that it is typical for SAP, probably more than in other companies. Yeah.
And which were your major subjects at the university?
Back at university, I majored in international management, the Arabic and the Francophone world. I think that was that right? Yeah. I have a fellow student with me from the time, so yeah, that's also international management actually in the end. Yeah.
And it helped you with what you learned.
Absolutely. I think that what you learn, like I've done a lot in project management, and the small projects that you do here at university and the case studies, as I said, project management, of course you learn techniques and you can do trainings, but in the end it's being able to structure a topic, to knowing how to tackle it, who to involve, and this is what you really learn here at the university with the small team assignments that you do and with the projects that you're assigned to. So you don't feel lost completely if somebody tells you, okay, we need a new process for our quarterly sales forecast or something. You might not know anything about the topic, but at least you have an idea as to, okay, let me sit down, let me think about what information do I need, what are the next steps. Yeah.
As I remember, you said you had maybe the best 4 months at SAP in a very international team and also the best results. Now, from 2006 you worked 8 years in SAP. It's not too much time, I think, 4 months. What is your feeling? Is it a general trend now in the whole company SAP to have these very international teams, or was it just in this specific position?
No, actually SAP is a global company, and what we have is, in this very complex organizational structure that we do have lots of teams on a global or regional level. That means that we have people sitting in a country, and for example an HR business partner who serves for a country, for all the people that sit in one country, they are responsible for. They make sure that everything is alright with all of the HR topics right there. And then we have a team on a regional level that takes care of regional topics like a strategy, rolling it out on the regional level, and then again we have one at a global level. If you don't work in this local team, really taking care of only your country, you always work in international teams, because you have to align with the different regions. You have to make sure that you know all the country specifics, the tax and labor law specifics, so that you actually, even if you work in Germany, you probably would have international teams, because we have people from all over the world in the headquarters. So it's something very typical. I don't think that there are lots of teams still at SAP where we speak German, even in our daily lives. I mean, we do everything in English, every call, there's no call we do in German. No meeting we do in German, everything's in English.
questions? Well, if that's not the case, I think maybe you stay a couple of minutes more. You said networking is so important, right? To establish relationships. So just to provide you, if you have more private questions, maybe to Sabrina Dick.
I also, maybe just to conclude, and I hope you'll get the slides somehow, but what I have prepared here for you is, I wanted to invite you to have a look at our Life at SAP channels on the different social networks. We have those at Facebook, Twitter, YouTube or LinkedIn, lots of videos and lots of articles that give you an insight into daily work at SAP. Executives might say something about their journey, about their biggest challenges, and you would also see pictures of some events that we have, so that might be nice. And then of course, if you're interested in a career, I have posted the link here. And if you're, afterwards, if you have questions to myself, feel free to reach out to me via my email address.
Right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for taking your time out of your busy schedule. We do appreciate it. I think it's so important, to hear this, from a former peer. What you can do with your experiences. So this is much, we do appreciate very much. And
my pleasure.
This is, you can guess what it is. And this is maybe also what you can guess. As you know, we are a diversified university that also creates its own wine. Wonderful. So this is,
thank you.
I put it here just to. Right, and thanks again for taking your time.
Thanks for the invitation.
Sharing.
And thanks for taking the time. Thank you.
So we stay here a couple of minutes. So for those who want to establish rapport relationship, come here.